Hello YouTube, my name is Chris, and today I will be presenting 3 arguments for the existence of God in response to the challenge issued by Essence of Thought.
Well, seems things are on the up for me, as you are currently the second response to my challenge video, so seems you came rather quickly after I started responding to the Idol Smashers video. Sorry it took a while to get to it, as well as I had to do the second video, but yeah, let's get straight into it. Greetings and welcome there, people of YouTube. This is Essence of Thought, and of course I'm doing a video response to Defeating Materialism's video, 3 arguments for the existence of God. So let's get into it.
Now, the first argument I would like to present is what I call the argument from ideals. And it goes like this. One may look upon a woman and think her beautiful. One may also look upon a view of nature and say that is beautiful. Clearly these are 2 different beauties, so although these things may partake in the ideal of beauty, they are not beauty itself. Human beings can think about and grasp the ideal of pure beauty, despite the fact that pure beauty does not exist in the physical world. Human brains attain information purely from the physical world, through the senses. The ideal of beauty does not come from the physical world, yet we still have it. If it did not come from the natural world of the senses, it must have come from a supernatural source, which is God. And that is what I call the argument from ideals.
It would be much more honest if you called this the argument from personal incredulity. You see, that's all it really boils down to. I don't understand, therefore God. You fail to understand the evolution of the brain and how it has the capability to hold abstract thoughts thanks to our higher cognitive ability. You know, these abstracts, however, are not just completely random. They are often tied to a group of emotions which are physical and chemical reactions, or, you know, a group of actions which, of course, have physical implications. You know, we group these actions and these emotions together, and from them we will form these abstract ideals. For example, you know, dying itself isn't honourable, you know, the ideal of honour, but, you know, dying to save others is honourable. It's a group of actions together. It's more complex. Our cognitive mind has allowed for this. It allows us to then go on also, you know, idolize these factors because they aid and assist in the survival of our species in cooperation and working together. Fact is, you've not really shown how these ideals are beyond the capability of the cognitive mind, and thus your assertions are unbased and can just be wiped away. You know, there's no actual substance to argument here. It's just the claim that X cannot explain Y, therefore Z exists. And doesn't really make any sense.
The second argument I would like to present is what I call the argument from the Big Bang Theory. Now, pretty much everybody today would agree that our universe exists in its present form as a result of the Big Bang. But what modern science cannot explain is simply what caused the Big Bang. That seems to me like a fair question to ask. Now, many people would try to argue that the Big Bang was the result of something known as a quantum fluctuation. However, for a quantum fluctuation to have taken place, this would have required that the laws of physics were applicable to the fluctuation itself, which is simply not the case, because for the laws of physics to have been applicable, well, that would have required space and time to have existed. And modern science is quite clear that space and time did not exist until after the Big Bang. So, according to the laws of modern physics, the Big Bang could not have been the result of a quantum fluctuation or any sort of natural phenomenon, for that matter. So, if the Big Bang was not the result of any sort of natural phenomenon, then it is only logical that we conclude that the Big Bang was the result of an unnatural phenomenon. And I think it's safe to say that an unnatural phenomenon that created the universe as we know it is God.
Again, it would be much more honest if you called this the argument from dual double standard, dual special pleading, moving the goalpost and irrelevant conclusion, not forgetting extra personal incredulity. One double standard and one of the special pleading factors comes in at the whole basis of God is isolated from this merely because I wish him to be when dealing with the whole idea of causation. Then we have the fact that you also say this.
However, for a quantum fluctuation to have taken place, this would have required that the laws of physics were applicable to the fluctuation itself, which is simply not the case, because for the laws of physics to have been applicable, well, that would have required space and time to have existed. and modern science is quite clear that space and time did not exist until after the Big Bang.
Yet the idea of causation is also a field of physics. Ergo, the original premise of your argument is made invalid by the premise just shown. You cannot argue that the laws of physics, first of all, applied prior to the beginning of the universe, and then switch to the idea that the laws of physics did not apply before the existence of the universe. You can't just switch and choose dependent on whether or not it, suits your argument. That's very dishonest. Also, let me note here the fact that cause and effect does not deal with the creation of energy or matter. It only deals with the, changing or transferal of already existing energy or matter. So you're also misrepresenting on that point. And lastly, your conclusion is utterly irrelevant. It does not follow from your original argument. Even if I gave you that argument, it would not follow, science right now can't explain this, therefore God. Rather, you're just asserting good old goddy gaps.
Now, the third and final argument I would like to present is what I call the argument from consciousness. Science has not explained our subjective consciousness, and this is scientific fact. To this day, science still addresses it as the hard problem of consciousness. They simply can't explain how the physical brain produces consciousness.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that.
And that is because scientists cannot explain how the brain produces consciousness. Any scientific theory on consciousness is conceived within consciousness. So they cannot explain consciousness because those theories would be a result of consciousness itself. Science is an activity within consciousness, so cannot explain it from without. Science is the study of the natural world. If science cannot explain consciousness, then it cannot be a product of the natural world. It must have a supernatural origin, which is God.
We exist inside the universe, we are part of the universe, and yet science is very much designed to investigate the workings of said universe. We are in fact the universe, experiencing itself. Ergo, your argument on, how conscious people cannot investigate and discuss consciousness because this is an aspect of consciousness, it's completely unbased, and you have no argument there other than your own arbitrary assertion. It's like going that a person cannot write an autobiography because he has lived his own life and he would understand his life greater than any other person. The fact that we have consciousness is the very reason we can explore consciousness, greater than any other thing that doesn't have consciousness. Something that doesn't have consciousness is going to investigate it, therefore it is up to us, Your argument strikes the ball out of the park game of asininity. As for consciousness, it's a hard question because consciousness is a very large field which can easily be broken down into smaller segments and investigated upon those segments. We can also see how these segments have evolved over a number of species because other species do show, cognitive functioning, just not at the level we do. So we can actually see this cognitive ability evolving. But the fact is, no spiritual or magic woo-woo aspect is required. How do I know? I can go in and I can destroy aspects of your brain. I can remove your emotions, I can remove your personality traits, your likes, your dislikes, and even your consciousness as a whole. I can remove the entirety of your brain, save the very key components that allow for the motor functions and the organs to work, and you'll still be alive, but you'll be in a vegetabilized state. I can do that. Now, you might argue then from dualism. Well, dualism only really works as an argument when we don't have a part of the brain mapped. Thus, it's kind of being driven out by the field of neuroscience. You see, we can make a prediction on behavior if we destroy X part of the brain, We don't actually go out and do that. We use case samples, so where people have been in accidents and that part of the brain has been destroyed, and therefore we do research in that. The fact is, there's no reasonable reason or occurrence that happens in these events that gives us suspicion or, good grounds to believe in some magical aspect. It's like going, yes, oxygenation causes burning, but it also involves ghosts, It's just adding unrequired claptrap for the sake of adding unrequired claptrap. There's no point for it to be put there, therefore don't argue for it in that sense. We can see it has a very clear physical basis. We can see it evolve, we can remove aspects and see personality change. There's nothing here that lends to the idea of a spirit or soul. Also, if you were to argue from the dualist position, there would be some questions I'd like to ask. For example, if someone has a mental disability, dies and then goes to heaven, is it them in heaven or is it the person that they would have been if they lacked the mental disability? Because, in heaven we often get told that, your body rejuvenates and you get back your limbs, etc. What about the mental aspects? And then from this, what would the people that had learned to love that person throughout their life, what would they see? Would they see the person that they loved? Or would they see, this alien figure, this person that they know nothing about? Also, when I remove pieces of the brain, hypothetically, or, accident causes a mental disability during life, do the parts of the brain go to heaven and just float around as parts of consciousness and emotion and all that, waiting for the rest of the person to die? Are there bits of floaty, brainy stuff up there? Not the most, technical terminology there, but just a bit of thought for you. And also, in conclusion, your entire argument is just based upon assertion. None of your arguments are actually technically arguments.
Now these are my 3 arguments for the existence of God, and they prove God basically, so unless you are able to refute all 3 arguments, you cannot disprove the existence of God.
That was not the challenge of the video, you see. The challenge was for you to prove the existence of God, not open the possibility of there being a God, because I already accept the possibility of there being a God, except in the case of a few specific gods which have written text which I can find contradictions in their definition. That's the only gods I'm agnostic atheist towards. I know for certainty they do not exist. So, yeah. The fact is, each of your assertions has failed to meet the mark. So if you come up with an actual argument, feel free to come back and have another try. So yes, that's the end of the video, and hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been a rather short one. I just got through the entire argument and refuted it because there wasn't so much substance in between. So yes, this is Assertions 4. Take care and out.